surprised if it gets claimed.
We are live.
All right, Klim, you ready?
Born ready.
How you doing, everybody? And welcome to the Moffett on the Mic radio show. We are live, as always, courtesy of the A1 Sports Network. I am Craig Moffett, and of course, this show would not be complete without the production stylings and New York Liberty's #1 fan, Chris Klim.
What's up, Craig?
It has been a while, Klim, but yes, I did miss you.
I missed you too.
And we missed our fans and we missed our audience, and we really appreciate everybody taking the time to talk sports with us or hang out with us on this Monday night. You can follow the show on Instagram at Moff on the Mic and on my Facebook page as well. You can follow Klim and the A1 Sports Network on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can subscribe to our show courtesy of Apple Podcasts. Like and comment and leave us a 5-star review because it makes us feel oh so special at the end of the day. We're going to do a few topics. We're going to talk about NFL preseason football, teams making their cuts. Couple of names I noticed, nobody really too famous yet, like too known. I would say the most known cut that I saw today was Sony Michel. But
Ooh, did you really? I didn't see that.
That was one of them. We're going to get into the Jets cuts today. They already started making them. Not really too many surprises, maybe one or two, but we'll get into that. We will get into the Kevin Durant stuff as we've been off for a few weeks. Kevin Durant back with the Brooklyn Nets, and Nets pretty much ready to roll at this point with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons is healthy. So we'll get into talking about them, and we'll also kind of debate whether we think it's going to force the Knicks' hand into making a deal for Donovan Mitchell that they may not want to make. We're going to talk some wrestling. We're going to talk about WWE. Triple H is still making changes, all for the good, and whether that should make AEW a bit nervous. Mm-hmm. And we'll end the show with a little bit of hockey. We'll talk a little Islander hockey. They did not sign Nazem Kadri, which a lot of people thought was going to happen. And we'll maybe look at the prospects for the season with training camp right around the corner. Klim, you want to tell me something?
I do, because I have a story. Speaking of wrestling, see, like first of all, I like this is like we've been doing this for so long. You can tell when I have something to say, like right off the bat. So I'm kind of like glad you were reading my mind because I do have a quick story I want to say. Speaking of, you mentioned wrestling today. I'm driving home from work in Glen Cove, and I'm at one light, and I see a Tesla on the other side of the road, coming in the opposite direction. Who's driving the Tesla? Maxwell
No, he
Jacob
isn't.
Friedman.
Are you
He
serious?
he was in the car. Like, I kind of made eye contact with him, but not really, because I was like, oh, it's MJF. But like, I didn't want to be weird and be like, stare him down. But like, and I did, like, so I was like, oh my god, that's MJF. And then as I'm driving by, I wanted to give like the honk and like wave, like, hey, what's going on? I didn't do that though. I didn't do that because that would have been really fucking weird. But I saw MJF driving around the mean streets of Glen Cove today.
No, that's awesome, man. That's pretty fucking cool. Lord knows when he's coming back to AEW, but they really need him right now because
badly.
It's not that I don't think AEW is putting a bad product on TV. I just think that if I'm paying money to go to AEW Dynamite, then I want to see MJF. I want to see Punk. I know Punk's hurt, but that's another story. But I don't think that they're putting their best wrestlers on the show. I think they're trying to give time to so many different factions, and that's what we've always talked about with them, Klim, is that we just think they have too much talent.
They're turning into WCW.
They're not a 3-hour program; they're a 2-hour program, and nobody watches Rampage on Friday to really give a crap. Right. And I know that what they're trying to do is that they're trying to pique interest in Rampage by putting Hangman Page, Jon Moxley on there, but nobody's watching it. And the last AEW show I went to at UBS Arena was the same thing. It was just once Dynamite ended, everybody left. Like, everybody left. Because it took another 20 minutes to set up for Rampage, and by then, nobody really gave a shit. Didn't matter.
No, exactly.
So, but we'll get into wrestling later, as there's a lot going on, especially around WWE, as they are making changes for the better. It seems like every week you get this really good vibe that things are getting much, much better now that Vince, and you really see how Vince really took a shit on his own federation.
Oh, absolutely.
With just some of the awful decisions and just the gimmicks and everything.
Not to quote our friends from the What's Wrong with Wrestling podcast, but they said it on their show. They were like, was it this easy? Like, to just change like a storyline or two and then like, bam, and bring back these people? Like, was it really that easy? And Vince was just clueless as fuck?
Yeah. So, we're going to get into that towards the end of the show, but first we want to kick it off with a little NFL preseason talk. And, the Jets go undefeated in preseason. Great. It's probably the only time we'll ever be undefeated. But you know what bothered me, Klim, over the weekend? And I don't know, maybe it's just this weird double standard that I find with a lot of beat writers in general. Think about it like this. The first string offense struggled against the Giants' second stringers, right? Flacco didn't play a great game yesterday. Michael Carter had a really bad fumble, on a drive on what could have been a touchdown drive for all we know. And they just didn't seem to be in sync. Flacco was missing, missing open receivers and all that stuff. But this morning, and I hate this phrase. I hate it, okay? Every beat writer says this phrase. Ready? Well, there should be a level of concern with the offense. There should be a level of concern with the defense. Why are we being concerned in the preseason? Why? I mean, think about it like this. Mike LaFleur does not put his entire playbook out on the first 3 weeks of preseason because half of the guys that are going to play are probably not going to make the team. So why are you going to put out all your bells and whistles, all your adjustments, all your, motion, all that stuff? What are you going to do that for? And if you already know, and if you notice a trend this year in the preseason, a lot of first-string offenses didn't even play.
Oh, I know.
I don't think Derek Carr played the whole preseason. I don't think Devontae Adams played the whole preseason. I don't think Kirk Cousins played the whole preseason. Half of the guys didn't even play because they know their place on the roster is secure. There's no reason to put them out there. So I think the Jets did it more because just to get them some work before the start of the season. And my thing is this. If Joe Flacco leads the Jets to 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, what do you think people are going to say?
That he needs to start over Zach Wilson.
True. But what else what people are going to say is, well, he did it against the Giants' backups.
Yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't matter if Joe Flacco struggles against the Giants' backups or if he plays well. It's more likely to be a story if he does poorly.
Yeah.
If he does well, it's going to be dismissed.
Yeah, it's a catch-22 because if he does good, like you said, it'll be, well, he played against the backups. Well, if he does bad, well, he played against the backups. What the hell's going on? Like, you can't win in this situation no matter what. Even if Zach Wilson was the starting quarterback, it doesn't matter because, like I said, if it's like, oh, Zach Wilson struggled against the Giants defense, okay, they're the backups. It doesn't matter. Oh, he played great against the Giants defense. Well, it's the backup, so who really cares? You can't have it both ways.
And I mean, I saw it. Rich Cimini wrote it today. Connor Hughes wrote it today. I was listening to the Turn on the Jets podcast on Patreon with Joe Caporoso and Connor Rogers. They were saying, they were like, oh, I'm a little concerned. And I'm like, what is there to be concerned about in the preseason? I don't understand why are we always taking so much stock in the preseason? Does anybody really give a shit that the Jets went undefeated in the preseason? No. Nobody cares. Are people clamoring for Chris Streveler to be the number one quarterback on the Jets right now because he led them to fourth quarter comebacks every week?
Yeah.
No. Nobody cares. Because deep down, when the games are played for real and the defensive coordinators turn up the heat a little bit more and they're sending guys on blitzes and stunts and like confusing the shit out of a quarterback, that's when it will matter. It won't matter in bullshit games. Justin Fields threw 3 touchdowns in Saturday's game against the Browns, against mostly backups. They weren't all starters. I mean, I think there were a couple of starters, but not a lot. But my point is everybody made a big deal about it. People making a big deal about Tua Tagovailoa throwing, bombs to Tyreek Hill against a backup defense. So again, it's like, so are you saying that it's okay to get excited for other teams, but other teams could just be dismissed?
Yeah.
Those are the things I don't understand. Like, I like the preseason, and part of me, the reason why I like the preseason is because I want to see what the younger guys can do.
Right. And
look what happens. There was a couple of guys that really kind of stood out for the Jets in the preseason. Guys like Calvin Jackson, guys like Lawrence Cager, guys like who's the other guy?
Chris Streveler.
Zonovan Knight was actually fairly decent. Now, look, most of those guys are already cut, if not going to be cut. But they're most likely going to either make the practice squad or they're going to get picked up by another team.
Mm-hmm.
But the point of the matter is yesterday's game was actually really entertaining. I mean, it was really entertaining. It was good seeing, I really like this draft class, especially Michael Clemens. Actually, Michael Clemens could be a steal.
He's looking good.
He leveled Tyrod Taylor. And it was a perfectly clean hit.
Mm-hmm.
But I just get so frustrated because we always get the same sentence. Well, you have to be concerned with the offense. Why do I have to be concerned? The preseason doesn't matter. It's just a bullshit reason for guys to get on the field and play.
Mm-hmm.
Mike LaFleur is not showing you anything in the preseason. He's just doing basic shit. That's it. Everything is very vanilla. But I'm saying if you're going to go by that argument, right, then you can't sit there and belittle it if Joe Flacco threw 3 touchdowns.
Right.
You don't get the right to do that. You don't say, well, it was just backup. Who cares? So it's like you don't really get that right to do that. Now, there was a few noticeable things like during the preseason. But like I said, the number one thing was hardly any teams played their starters.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see the Eagles playing Jalen Hurts very much, if at all. I think they played him in the first game against the Jets, but I don't think he saw the field after that.
No, after that first drive, that was it.
Gardner Minshew played pretty much every game, pretty much started the last 2 preseason games. So teams already have an idea of what they already know who's going to make the roster. They already know who their number one offense is going to be and who their number one defense is going to be. But it's just about really kind of filling out the backup roles in general.
Right.
For example, I guess the main quarterback story if you want to call it a story, is Geno Smith now winning the starting job in Seattle over Drew Lock. And thing is, I watched both of them in the last preseason games, and neither one of them really stood out. But I guess if I had to go with somebody, I'd go with Geno because he probably knows the offense better than Drew Lock does.
Yeah, he's been there.
Like, I wasn't very impressed with Trey Lance. I wasn't very impressed with him. It was okay. He didn't blow me away or anything. He couldn't lead them to 20 points against the Texans. So I'm not – is that an indictment on him for the whole season? Of course not.
No.
But, again, it's like if he would have done really well, are people going, oh, my God, the 49ers are going to go to the Super Bowl this year because Trey Lance lit up the Texans' backup defense?
Yeah.
I think there are people who take too much stock into preseason. And I don't know if that's just because it's football and we're so desperate to get football back. Right?
You know what it is? I think maybe people think like myself because I like when like the undrafted guys, those 6th round, 7th round, 5th round guys, they perform amazing, in the preseason. So when they do good, I think, people will be like, oh my God, they got it. This guy's got to start. This guy's got to do this. This guy's got to do that. Like a guy like Chris Stravler. I loved Chris Stravler. I think I personally, I really do think he deserved to be on the Jets this year. But I mean, with Joe Flacco, Zach Wilson, and Mike White, he obviously could not be. And I understood that completely. But am I going to go out and say, oh yeah, this guy needs to be the starting quarterback for the New York Jets or deserves to be a backup in the NFL? No, because it's.
But think about it like this. Right? Here's the thing about Chris Stravler. He probably would have made the team if Mike White had a shitty game this year.
Yep.
Because Mike White actually had a better game than a lot of people thought. And, think about it. It was only a fucking year ago where Jet fans literally had an erection when Mike White beat Cincinnati. And that's what they bring up every time when they bring up Mike White. Oh, did you see the Cincinnati game? Yeah. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut. Okay? And the fact is Mike White is not a great quarterback. He has a very high opinion of himself, but he's not a great quarterback. And if you don't believe me, watch the tape of the preseason games this year. He practically bounced the pass to a receiver in the flat against the Falcons. He has no arm strength whatsoever. I mean, you can't base a guy's career on a game and a half of football. And just remember one thing. There's a reason why Chris Stravler is available half the time. It's because he's not that good of a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, did he give you some excitement in a preseason game? Sure. I mean, it's fun watching stuff like that. But as a whole, he's not that good of a quarterback. You put him up against the Ravens week 1, he's going to throw for 40 yards, guaranteed, in the entire game. He's going to look like a freaking deer in headlights. Now, look, if he makes the practice squad, great. But the thing is, they could be making that decision, Klim, because they don't know if Zach's going to be back week 1. And between the proven veterans, it'll probably be they'll choose Mike White over Chris Stravler. Now, Stravler can make it to the practice squad. It's definitely possible. I don't see a team rushing to pick him up on waivers, but, I mean, who knows? But right now, it's just I just hate this narrative that we always have to be concerned with the way a first-string offense runs. Well, my God, I didn't do anything against the backups. This is unbelievable, unacceptable. And I'm like, give me a break. Like, give me a fucking break.
Yeah, I mean,
week 1, if Joe Flacco struggles against the Ravens and he can't get the ball to receivers, okay, then maybe I'll be a little concerned about that. Then my concern level will go up a little bit. But you just cannot take that much stock in the preseason. I just don't think that coaches are putting their full game plan out on the table for all to see. Because quite frankly, these guys wouldn't be able to learn it in time. They just keep it basic. Show your ability. Show what these guys can do. And then if they make the team, great. If they don't, they don't. Now, getting on to the Jets' cuts, a lot of them aren't really too surprising. Actually, the only one I was really surprised about was Javelin Guidry.
Mm-hmm.
But, LaMichael Pirine got cut. Calvin Jackson was actually pretty decent in training camp. He could make the practice squad. You know, he was on Last Chance U with Jermaine Johnson, which I didn't know.
Yeah,
I got to try to watch that show. I've never watched it before.
I heard it's good.
Yeah,
I heard it's good.
but like the rest of the guys, to me, are just I mean, there's a few players out there, but nothing really to go crazy about. I mean, these are guys that were already. I mean, a lot of people were surprised that Bradley Anai got cut or got released, but that only means that probably Jabari Zuniga is going to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big story comes of what are they going to do with Denzel Mims?
Mm-hmm.
And right now, the way it is Denzel Mims he's probably going to make the team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think Douglas is going to cut him. And I think he's hoping that teams get interested. That team that he could generate maybe a little bit of a bidding war for him. Listen, I put nothing past Joe Douglas the day he got a 4th-round pick for Chris Herndon, who just got cut by the Saints. So Chris Herndon's been on 2 teams and has been terrible on 2 teams, and Joe Douglas got a 4th-round pick for the guy.
Yeah, I'm not. If Joe Douglas does trade him, I have full belief that he'll get his worth out of Denzel Mims. And Denzel Mims proved that he could still play because he had a good game against the Giants.
But the interest level. But again, okay, perfectly. You just made a good point, right? Denzel Mims just had a good game against the Giants, but it was against the 2nd and 3rd stringers. So a guy who thinks he should be a starter in this league is putting up a 100-yard game against 2nd and 3rd stringers. And everybody's giving him like, oh my God, he went off on the last preseason game against 2nd and 3rd stringers. It's like, again, it goes back to what I said. If Zach Wilson threw 3 touchdowns against backup defense, you know that fucking Rich Cimini is going to be like, well, no, it's not good enough. It was against backup defense. So it's like, I don't know if Denzel Mims' value improved off of one game, because in the game before, he lined up I think he got a penalty for illegal formation. He had a couple of drops. So, I mean, I guess at this point, if you can get a conditional pick for him, fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think his value really skyrocketed. But if I'm Denzel Mims, I want to go to a team that literally does not have great talent at receiver.
Right.
So the first team I'm looking to go to and I'm hoping is interested in me is the Chicago Bears. Because I know that while I may not start, I'm definitely going to get a lot of playing time.
Right.
Like, he's going to get on the field a lot. Because if you think the Chicago Bears are going to keep rolling out Equanimeous St. Brown and Darnell Mooney, and Darnell Mooney's a good receiver, I'm not saying he isn't, but that's not going to be good enough to compete. And to be honest, I'm not sure Denzel Mims makes them that much better, but he'll get the playing time he wants. To me, that's one of the perfect spots for him to go to, is the Chicago Bears. Bless you.
Thank you.
He'll be on a bad team, but it only will increase his value.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be my number one spot. A lot of people, like, I was reading some articles about, where Denzel Mims could go, and couple of people mentioned the Ravens. The problem with the Ravens is they don't use wide receivers. They don't throw to their receivers. Most of the time, it's either a run-heavy offense or they tend to throw to Mark Andrews more than anything. But they don't normally run. They don't run like a lot of – Lamar Jackson hardly throws to his receivers. And again, putting Denzel Mims on that team doesn't necessarily make them better, because he's kind of in the same boat with the receivers they currently have.
Right.
Green Bay Packers could be a possibility with Aaron Rodgers. But again, what are they going to give up to get him? I mean, they may like their receivers right now. So the problem is Mims being on this team is at best a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But they really like Jeff Smith because he's able to be a special teams guy. So that makes him a 6.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're carrying 6 receivers on the team, Mims is going to be inactive more weeks than not.
Right.
So it's best for both sides to just move on. And I know what people are going to say, well, the 2020 draft class is one of the worst in history. Man, the reason why I won't say it's the worst in history, because I know there are more worse draft classes the Jets have had. I know there's more. The Itzik 12 is probably the worst class I've ever seen in my life.
So bad.
The Christian Hackenberg draft is a close second. But the 2020 draft, do what Jet fans do what you always do. Blame Adam Gase. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Now looking at the I really like the makeup of this roster. Okay. I think I have never seen such awesome depth at wide receiver before. Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Braxton Berrios, Garrett Wilson, Jeff Smith. We could have as many as 4 quality tight ends on the team this year.
Mm-hmm.
With Uzama, Conklin, Ruckert. And I honestly think Cager's going to make the team.
I hope so. He's pretty decent.
Because he gives you versatility, that's why. Cager can line up outside and he can play tight end. The only thing that we don't know if he's good at is blocking. If he needs to run block, is he any good at it? That might be the only issue that he has, but that's a work in progress. But he's been really good. He's got great speed. He can catch the ball. I mean, overall, it's a pretty I think he's going to make the team because I think they know that he's going to get cut. He's going to be claimed if he gets released.
Right.
And then there's also the possibility that the Jets make trades. Denzel Mims is rumored to be on the block. There's teams that are sort of interested. One of those teams we thought was Carolina Panthers, but as you put on the bottom, they made a trade today for Laviska Shenault from Jacksonville. So they're out. Jabari Zuniga is a guy that could be had if they're looking to trade him. They may try to trade him, and then Bradley Anai goes on the practice squad. They put him on the active roster.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Jets' pass rush could be freaking lethal this year.
It really, especially with the depth. It's not even the starters because we know Carl Lawson, JFM, Quinnen Williams, and Jermaine Johnson are going to make up that front 4. But the backups of Bryce Huff, Solomon Thomas, Sheldon Rankins, Jacob Michael Clemens, Jonathan Marshall, Nathan Shepard, Vinny Curry. That's great depth right there in general. That's just great depth to have.
I mean, Michael Clemens right now, listen, it's way too early, so we'll have to see how the season progresses. But he has potential to be a steal of the draft.
Oh, absolutely. He looks fantastic. He looks fantastic.
You know what I like about Michael Clemens, Klim? He's always around the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever the running back goes, he's right there. Wherever the receiver goes, he tries to get there. Of course, not on a deep out, but if it's like a screen or something like that. Linebackers are, but Quan Alexander's actually looked really good since they signed him. But I don't know if Nasruddin will make the team. He may not. I think they may go with Sherwood, Mosley, Quincy Williams, and Quan Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
And then the safeties, it looks like Will Parks is going to make the team over Ashton Davis. Ashton Davis has been non-existent. So, and then as for who starts opposite Jordan Whitehead, I'm assuming it's going to be LaMarcus Joyner.
Yeah.
And then on the corners, it'll be Sauce and DJ Reed. So, on the offensive line, Dwayne Brown looks pretty good. He looks like he's in good shape. He definitely – I think it'll take a little bit of time, but I think he'll be fine at the left tackle spot. Running backs with Breece Hall and Michael Carter to go with. I think it's going to be Tevin Coleman, but I don't know, man. I think Zonovan Knight should make the team, but I would have definitely been in favor of LaMichael Pirine because I think he brings more of a tougher element when running the football.
It was only he just couldn't bear on the roster just because when you have a guy like Michael Carter showed out last year, so he obviously not getting cut. We drafted Breece Hall. He's not getting cut. Tevin Coleman, I like Tevin Coleman. Tevin Coleman provides that experience in the backfield that all these young guys that they don't have. This is Michael Carter's second year. Breece Hall's a rookie.
Tevin Coleman could still run the football.
Exactly.
He could definitely run the football. I just get concerned because he's older and he gets injured.
Yeah, but for him, it's not like he's going to be the everyday 1 or 2 back or even the third down back. He's going to be there just for relief, just in case guys are tired or they need a break.
There's a rumor going around that the Dallas Cowboys are talking to the Jets about trading for Chuma Edoga. So
why?
They can yeah, exactly. Why? One of the Jets one of the Jets writers was kind of funny. He was like, I guess it's more of a fan blog. He was like, well, if they trade Udoka, they better have a good backup plan. And I'm like, anybody would be better than Chuma Udoka as a backup plan. Anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the guy's been with the team for 4 years and has literally done nothing on the roster. The fact that he's still on the roster after 4 years is incredible. Right. It was like anybody would be better at right tackle than Chuma Udoka.
So bad. So
they can have him. The Cowboys, if they're willing to give us like a conditional pick for him, take it. I don't care what it is. Because they need depth on the offensive line because of the injury to Tyron Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they're just looking for more of a swing tackle kind of player, and I guess they like Udoka.
Yeah. I don't like Udoka. I mean, they can take him. I don't like him at all.
But, then the question becomes, when is Zach going to be back? Now, supposedly, in yesterday's game, Zach doesn't have a brace on his knee anymore. He's using an exercise bike on the sideline. He's starting to get in his work. I still think that Flacco will start week 1. I don't think they're going to throw Zach out there right away. Mm-hmm. He hasn't really had many practice reps. I think you got to make sure he gets practice reps in before he's good to go. I think throwing him out there against the Ravens would be somewhat irresponsible by Saleh. And I think he knows that. And I think that that's why they're going to probably sit him. But overall, I mean, I like the makeup of the team. I also think they're going to be pretty big on the waiver wire. Maybe adding another defensive tackle. Maybe seeing if they can get a swing tackle. If they can find somebody to trade to take Denzel Mims. If Denzel Mims, like I said, maybe they can get him. Maybe just maybe, although somewhat unlikely because I never put anything past Joe Douglas.
Exactly. I have all the faith that if trades do get made, Joe Douglas will get the absolute most.
Yes.
Out of the trade for Udoka, Mims, whoever it is.
Yes. And again, I just think it's one of those things right now where the Jets are. I like the youth on the roster. I like that. I think they're going to be a much better offensive team than people will give them credit for.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this year. But I just don't see this team being terrible. You know what I mean?
Neither do I. I really don't.
Being that 3-14 team that just can't get out of their own way, or, I think they're going to be a competitive team this year. Like I said, I don't think they'll be a playoff team. I still think they'll finish in last place in the East. I just think the other teams are better until they can prove to me otherwise. Because they haven't won a division game in 3 or 4 years or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, since 2019.
I think they're like 0-12 or some shit like that. But I definitely think they can beat these teams. I definitely think they can be competitive. I think a 6 to 7 win season is not out of the realm of possibility. But we'll see who else they cut. Cuts are tomorrow until 4 o'clock. And maybe there'll definitely be some surprises. But right now, really nothing out of the ordinary. And honestly, a lot of the cuts have been very meh. Except for, like I said, Sony Michel was the one cut that I saw today that was probably the most notable name.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I did see today that was kind of funny, just to show you how terrible the Jets have been at selecting players. Some of the guys that the Jets drafted all got cut today on different teams. Bless Austin got cut by the Broncos. Herndon got cut by the Saints. Trying to think who else. There was another guy that got cut that he was on the Jets. I remember he stunk. I wish I could remember who it was, but I can't. Jordan Jenkins got released by the Texans. I mean, it just goes to show you how, whoever was running these drafts back in the day just completely destroyed this franchise. Completely destroyed this franchise. The last 2021 and 2022 have potential. And this is also what I'm going to say, too, before we move on. If the Jets are really serious about rebuilding the right way, you can't start putting Joe Douglas on the hot seat after this season. You can't start putting Robert Saleh on the hot seat after this season. This team has gone through years and years of crap. Just years and years of crap. There are guys, Klim, from 6 years ago. Now we're going to 2016 draft. Mm-hmm. That should still be in the league. And their first-round pick, Darren Lee, is not even in the league anymore.
Ugh.
They wasted a second-round pick on Christian Hackenberg. Go back to Calvin Pryor. Calvin Pryor should still be in the NFL. He's not even in the NFL anymore. Yeah. It's not even a question of whether they're on a team or a third string on a team. They're not even in the league. Like, that is a unbelievable level of poor drafting. And they just have to give them more time. You can't start kind of letting the buzzard circle around Douglas if he has a disappointing season. He's got to build this. He's got to build it. And I mean, there's something. And the thing is, and I don't think you really want to fuck with the Saleh Douglas tandem, because you're attracting good free agents to come here. Can you imagine if you switch that now? And you bring in another coach that may not necessarily be what free agents want?
Mm-hmm.
You're just right back to square one.
Right.
You wouldn't have gotten Carl Lawson if it wasn't for Saleh. You wouldn't have gotten DJ Reed and Jordan Whitehead if it wasn't for Saleh. Laken Tomlinson. There's something there, like, you got to give it time. We're way too quick to recycle these guys after 2 years. 3 years max. You got to give him at least, for Douglas, he should get at least another year. Saleh should get another 2 years. But you got to give it time. Like, and I think we're just so impatient as fans. And I also think, like, again, I hate to kind of use this as like a scapegoat, but the media tend to do this shit too.
Mm-hmm.
You want to run these guys out of town as soon as there's a poor season. You can't keep doing that. No one's going to take the job if you have a 2-year window to succeed. That's never going to happen.
No, exactly. And none of these players are able to grow if you keep firing coaches. Like, it's just not. It just can't happen. It really can't happen. Like, God forbid, say we fire for some reason. I don't think Saleh's going to get fired this year. I don't think he's going to be on the hot seat after this year. But God forbid you say you fire Robert Saleh. That's it right there. That's it for Zach Wilson. That's it for Michael Carter, Bryce Hall, all these guys. They can't learn like this. They can't keep learning under new playbooks.
But I just think that at this stage in the game, the Jets have no business telling a coach right now, well, if I don't see improvement next year, you're pretty much done. When it's been 8 or 9 years of terrible drafting, overpaying for free agents, and I'm sorry, horrible coaching decisions. Todd Bowles and Adam Gase were terrible coaches. You can't make that up in 2 years. It's not going to happen. Not to mention the 2020 draft class now has set you back another year because they're all terrible. Becton can't stay healthy. Mims was ineffective. Zuniga was ineffective. Pirine was ineffective. Bryce Hall was decent, but overall he had a terrible game against the Falcons. And if you draft Sauce Gardner and sign DJ Reed, you're basically telling Bryce Hall he's not good enough to start in the league. Braden Mann has been a mediocre punter, which is why you should never draft a punter. Mm-hmm. That draft class is just beyond brutal at this point. Give Douglas one more draft class. Give him 23. I think the pieces are in place. And I think they're going to be a better team than people give them credit for. But there's going to be some rough spots in the season. And maybe if they take advantage of an easy slate towards the second half of the season, it'll build their confidence going into 2023, which is what you want. Do I think they're a playoff team this year? No, I don't. Do I think that they are capable of winning 7 to 8 games? Yes, I do. All right, let's.
I think they could. I think they could win between 7 and 9 games. I really do. Yeah. I really do. Somewhere between 7 and 9 games they can win. Looking at their schedule.
All right, let's jump to basketball. We've been off for a while, so obviously the big news that was really the only news going around the NBA was that wherever Kevin Durant was going to wind up. And when all was said and done, Kevin Durant wound up staying with the Brooklyn Nets after a meeting with Joe Tsai, Sean Marks, Steve Nash, and I think it was Joe Tsai's wife, if I'm not mistaken. But they met Kevin Durant, I think in California, pretty much had a sit down, and both sides agreed. Durant decided to rescind his trade request, and he'll be returning. And now all of a sudden, listen, in no way, shape, or form am I saying the Brooklyn Nets are a championship team. I don't really know what they are. I won't know until the season starts, and if I see Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving committed to being part of to winning a winning season. You know, last year was such a clusterfuck of different things between Kyrie not wanting to get vaccinated, Kevin Durant missing like 6 to 8 weeks with that knee injury, James Harden not really wanting to be a leader, Joe Harris out for the season. There were just so many things that went wrong for the Nets last year. And somehow they turned it into a trip to the play-in tournament and into a first-round series with the Celtics. Now, granted, they got eliminated, they got swept, but through all that turmoil, they still managed to make the playoffs. Can you imagine if there wasn't turmoil on that team?
I know.
And now you come back, I think Sean Marks has quietly built a very good roster with good, solid depth at a lot of positions. Maybe could use another big man. But Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Seth Curry, Nick Claxton, Ben Simmons, Cam Thomas, who had a great rookie season last year, Patty Mills off the bench. I mean, Royce O'Neal, which is a solid defensive pickup. TJ Warren, who's a solid pickup if he stays healthy. But here's the question, Klim. Because, for weeks and weeks, all I kept seeing on all the social medias was the Knicks fans laughing at the Nets. Oh, the Nets are a terrible franchise and everything. And now we have Kevin Durant back. Mm-hmm. Now we have Kyrie Irving back, who's on a 1-year contract, which means he has to play. He doesn't have a choice. He can't loaf it because no team will touch him if he does. So the question becomes, Klim, does this force the hand of the Knicks to push for a Donovan Mitchell trade that they may not necessarily want to give up the assets to get? And that's where it's interesting, okay? Because now that Durant is back in the fold, there's nothing for Knicks fans to ridicule anymore. Can't ridicule the Nets. The team is full. The Knicks are not full. The Knicks are not a great roster. At least I don't think they are. Sell me all the bullshit you want about, you're bringing back the same team. The only difference is Jalen Brunson.
Right.
You're basically bringing, in fact, let me rephrase that. You got rid of guys like Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel. Who did they package to get rid of? Whose contract they get rid of with the 12th pick of the draft?
Oh,
the Pistons took him. I forgot who it was. It wasn't.
Yeah, I can't.
It wasn't Burks and Noel. That was totally different. That was a totally separate trade. I can't think of off the top of my head. It wasn't Derrick Rose, but I can't think of who it was.
This is gonna bother me. I don't know. I can't think of it.
See if you can look it up. I know as soon as you mention the name, we're gonna be like, "Yep, that's it." But I can't remember.
Went to the Pistons?
Yeah, I think it was the Pistons. I'm almost certain it was Pistons.
All right, hold on.
You'll see it on the roster. You'll probably see the guy on the roster right now.
It was Alec Burks.
Are you sure?
Kevin Knox.
Kevin Knox went to the Hawks.
He's on the Pistons. Nerlens Noel?
Wasn't Noel.
Kemba,
that's what it was. Thank you very much.
A lot of Knicks on this team. Wow.
I think Kemba got bought out too, if he hasn't been bought out yet. So you had to pay a team to take Kemba Walker's contract, which was only worth $10 million,
mm-hmm.
with the 12th overall pick, which would have been a good building block for youth, for a roster you're trying to build around youth. Now the Nets are loaded again because I actually think Ben Simmons is going to be I think Ben Simmons has actually been pretty good this year. I don't think he's going to be put in a position where he has to shoot. I think he's going to be known more for his defense. And I honestly think he's going to be better than people want to give him credit for. But does it twist the Knicks' arm? Does James Dolan pull a Carmelo Anthony, Klim? Does James Dolan pull a situation where he knows he's bidding against himself for Donovan Mitchell? And let's say he doesn't give him like 6 or 7 first-round picks, but he gives up those young assets to get a deal done, just so he could say, all right, I got Donovan Mitchell. Now we can match up with the Nets. Thoughts?
I mean, if the Knicks oh my God. Like if the Knicks end up trading for Donovan Mitchell, will it help them? Maybe. It might help them, but then you're mortgaging your entire future. And like you just mentioned, we saw it with Carmelo Anthony once before. It did not work. Sure, it got you to the playoffs twice when you traded for Carmelo Anthony. That's it. Everything after that, it was all downhill. You're going to end up trading guys like Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quickly, Evan Fournier, 5 first-round draft picks, all for what? All for that Julius Randle and R.J. Barrett and Jalen Brunson can play together with Donovan Mitchell? That's not a team. Jalen Brunson is not the savior in New York whatsoever. Julius Randle had one MVP-like season, and he turned back into being Julius Randle again. Okay, R.J. Barrett's great. I love R.J. Barrett. He's the next step. He's the guy you should be building around.
Yeah, but is he worth a max contract?
Not yet. Not yet, at least. I think he can get to that point, but he's not worth it yet.
But that's an important thing, though, Klim, because, again, you're investing – you drafted this kid number 3 overall. And the real reason is he was not the guy. He was the consolation prize, if you remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was that was the Zion Williamson, John Morant draft. The Knicks didn't want R.J. Barrett. They had no choice but to take R.J. Barrett because they weren't going to get John Morant and they weren't going to get Zion Williamson. Now, in hindsight, Zion Williamson, we don't really know what he is because he's barely played. John Morant is one of the best players in the league right now. But R.J. Barrett has definitely given the Knicks, some quality play. I mean, he's a very good offensive player. But there are teams that are skittish on giving him a max deal. And the thing is, are the Knicks one of those teams? And you're running it back with basically the same team, which means, yeah, Emmanuel Quickly's a nice player off the bench. Mitchell Robinson, I think, is a little bit of an overrated center. He's not a bad center, but he's not a great one. Obi Toppin, again, he's a dunk machine and nothing more. I don't really find anything special about Obi Toppin's game. I like Quentin Grimes. I think Miles McBride could be a pretty decent player. R.J. Barrett's, probably one of your best offensive players. But then the key is also, can Julius Randle handle the New York pressure? Because last year he didn't. It was different 2 years ago when there was nobody in the crowd. And last year, a full season with sold out Madison Square Garden, he couldn't handle it. Mm-hmm. And he took it out on the fans, he took it out on the media, and he took it out on a few of the players. That's a big deal, man. And now a lot of teams don't really want Julius Randle for that reason. Mm-hmm. They think he's too sensitive. But knowing full well now that the Knicks are running it back with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and to go with Ben Simmons, the Brooklyn Nets are already a better team than the Knicks anyway, with what they have. But Knicks fans are also at the same time, they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place on this one. Mm-hmm. Because they want Donovan Mitchell. But when they see what the price is to get him, they automatically do the sour grapes act. And they go, oh, no, we don't want him. He's not that good anyway. Kind of like that. I'm telling you, man, right now, from like what I was reading today, there's only 3 teams that Donovan Mitchell wants to go to. The Knicks, the Nets, and the Miami Heat.
Right.
The Nets aren't going to be able to trade for him unless Utah takes Ben Simmons back. So that's not going to happen. And I actually think, and to be honest, I think Brooklyn likes Ben Simmons. Mm-hmm. I think they like him more than you think. The Miami Heat don't really have the assets to trade for him unless they trade Bam Adebayo, and I don't think they want to do that. So it leaves the Knicks. The Knicks have the young talent. They have the draft picks. Well, what's it going to take? That's the fascinating thing. Because remember, when Dolan got Carmelo Anthony, he was bidding against himself. Mm-hmm. And he gave up Wilson Chandler. He gave up Danilo Gallinari. He gave up Ray Felton. All those guys were playing great for the Knicks that year. Timothy Mozgov wasn't really much, and they gave up draft picks to get Melo. And Melo repaid them by taking them to the playoffs twice, and he didn't even get them past the first round.
If the Knicks do, I don't think the Knicks should do this. I really don't, because you want to build a franchise. You're gonna have to sell on the fact that you have to get these free agents, and Dolan's not doing a good job of that. No one wants to play for James Dolan, unfortunately. So maybe you do have to go out and make a trade. But if you make a trade, you're going to end up trading the backbone of your team. You need bench players to win franchise. You need bench players to win championships. Like, you look at some of these Warriors teams. They have Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, whatever. But you look at their bench and guys like Kevin Looney, Jordan Poole, Andre Iguodala when he was coming off the bench. Like, they had depth pieces on their bench to be like, okay, they can go deep into games and play good. If you trade away that for the Knicks, you saw it with the Knicks originally. They had no depth. They had no bench because they traded everyone away to get Carmelo Anthony. And the same thing with, why do you think, look at LeBron. Look at LeBron all those years with the Heat and Cavs. There was no bench for him. It was the big three, and then that was it. After that, it was no one. The Knicks need depth on this team, and you got to build this team around RJ Barrett. You got to make it free. You got to get in the free agency. Trading all these pieces is not going to help you. It really isn't.
And that's why, like, all these fucking Knicks fans who were laughing hysterically, WFAN jerk-offs like Salicata, Brandon Tierney, I even throw Giannotti in there a little bit. Laughing at the Nets up and down. Oh, terrible franchise and ever. And guess what? We have Kevin Durant back, just like that. And you know what I love about the whole thing, Klim? Is Sean Marks, in my opinion, is a baller. Mm-hmm. Sean Marks is basically like, I'm not letting these two fucking run this franchise. There's no way that Kevin Durant. And the thing about the Kevin Durant stuff that never made any sense to me was the Nets did everything Kevin Durant wanted. The Nets did everything Kevin Durant wanted, except give Kyrie the max contract. He was okay with Steve Nash being the head coach. They gave DeAndre Jordan a 4-year contract, which nobody was giving DeAndre Jordan when they were all free agents. They traded for James Harden when he wanted to trade for James Harden. They did everything they wanted for him. They gave him a year to recover from his Achilles injury. They did everything that he wanted. And he still wasn't happy. And it got to the point where with Sean Marks, he was like, you know what? This is bullshit. This guy is just being a pain in the ass. Mm-hmm. It has nothing to do with anything else. He's being a pain in the ass. He's doing it on purpose because he thinks he can hold the team hostage. And him and Joe Tsai were basically sitting there, and they were like, no, it's not going to happen. And they were a united front against Kevin Durant. And in the ultimate game of chicken, Kevin Durant blinked first. And the Nets knew they weren't going to get what they wanted for Kevin Durant. The Rudy Gobert trade made that the main reason why that was going to happen. There was no way the Nets were going to get the offer that they got, that Rudy Gobert got, the Jazz got for Rudy Gobert. 5 first-round picks and 4 players? Are you kidding me? Yeah. There's no way that the Nets, because teams are going to be afraid to give up that much assets. But worst of all, Kevin Durant's reputation took a major hit this year. He looks like a pussy. He does. He looks like a pussy. He looks like he is just the second things go south, he wants out. And then he's demanding that Steve Nash get fired. He's demanding that Sean Marks gets fired. He really believed that he had all the leverage. And at the end of the day, the Brooklyn Nets basically told him, you have 0. 0.0 leverage. That's what you have. And now he's got no choice but to come back. And maybe he'll just start being a player again. And again, it speaks to the state of the NBA when stuff like this happens. The fact that these guys have this real major sense of player entitlement. They think they run the franchise. Mm-hmm. Like I said, there's no way in hell that I'm giving Zach LaVine $215 million if this guy isn't winning a championship. He's got to win a championship. Same thing with Bradley Beal. Why would you spend $250 million on Bradley Beal to just be the same team you've been for the past 6 years with Bradley Beal? When you give these guys this money, they have to deliver. It can't just be after 1 year, okay, I'm done. I'm out. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to play here anymore. The thing is, I thought about this too, and my first assumption was I would not be surprised if Sean Marks and Kevin Durant came to a mutual agreement. They probably said, look, we're not going to get what we want for you. It's just not going to happen. Okay? We're not going to buy you out of your contract either. So it's very simple. We need you to come back this year and play for the Brooklyn Nets. You should want to come back to play for the Brooklyn Nets. And if you do that and you lead the team on a run, if you're still salty about it after next season, then maybe we'll see if we can find a trade partner for you. But making Kevin Durant's situation worse was the fact he only wanted to go to 2 teams, Phoenix or Miami. He had no desire to go to any other teams. I think Boston was the other team that he wanted to go to. But it was funny because I was watching a clip of Brandon Tierney, who's like, uber Knicks fan. And he was like criticizing Kevin Durant and the Nets for coming to a mutual relationship. You know what that told me? That told me he was pissed that the Nets just became the better team than the Knicks. That's what it told me. Because if you were going to critique that up and down the way he did, that means you're salty that Kevin Durant is back in Brooklyn and your New York Knicks become a crap-ass team again. We'll probably finish in the 10th spot of the Eastern Conference. But right now, this Brooklyn Nets team is built to win.
Oh, yeah.
And then next year, if Steve Nash is still a problem, then get rid of him.
Like this, like you said, this Nets team is built to win now. And like I mentioned, like you have, with Kevin Durant staying, with Kyrie staying, you pray that Ben Simmons comes back healthy. There's a solid 3 right there. And then you have guys like Nicholas Claxton, Seth Curry, Blake Griffin, Joe Harris, Patty Mills, Cam Thomas, TJ Warren. The list, the Nets, a solid team with them. You'll have Ben Simmons running the point guard, Kyrie Irving playing the shooting guard, Kevin Durant at the small forward, at power forward, with Joe Harris and Nick Claxton to round it out, with LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, TJ Warren, Seth Curry, Patty Mills coming off the bench. You can't ask for a better built roster than that. Really, you really can't. If everyone stays healthy, the Nets should be making the Eastern Conference Finals, if not the finals this year.
Again, I think it's going to be a better team than people give him credit for. I think that Ben Simmons is going to be a better player this year. I just think it's time he just has to grow a set, get on the court, and just show everybody, that you're worth $100 million. Like, seriously, that's the best he can, that's all he can really do at this point. Just get out on the court, start playing ball, man. Stop worrying about what the fucking stupid 76er fans think of you. Stop worrying about what fucking Joel Embiid thinks about you. No one gives a shit about that. If any team has a lot to prove in 2022, it's the fucking 76ers. 76ers have plenty to prove in 2022 with Joel Embiid because they haven't done jack shit with him. They haven't made it to a fucking final with him yet. So I don't want to hear about the Philadelphia 76ers and how great they're going to be and how PJ Tucker is the missing piece to a championship. Spare me that bullshit. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because right now what I see is a 76ers team that has massively underachieved. You think the Brooklyn Nets have underachieved? The 76ers have massively underachieved. The only difference between the 76ers and the Nets is the Nets' big 3 is more noticeable than the 76ers' big 3 of Joel Embiid, James Harden, and Tobias Harris. You good, man?
I'm good. Sorry, just things blowing up in my work group chat about stuff. That's why if I haven't been really here, I'm sorry because a lot of shit been going drama and everything. So
it's your network. If it crashes and burns, it's on you. I get the time for free, so
that's true. That's true.
All right, let's jump to let's do some wrestling, Clem. We'll close out the show with some wrestling. A lot of cool shit going down. You don't see it too much in the Raws and SmackDowns, but you do see it in NXT.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's I mean, like, over the last few weeks, you really see how much Vince McMahon was sabotaging his own federation.
Oh yeah.
Between the horrible gimmicks, between the terrible episodes of Raw and SmackDown that people were just completely disinterested in, between the numerous releases of wrestlers which kind of took the depth away from your rosters, because you have two rosters basically, and Raw's a 3-hour show. All of a sudden now you're getting excited for stuff, and that's a huge part of it. And you kind of know, I mean, so you've always known that Triple H loves the business. He loves Raw, like he loves WWE, you know, and you could see that when he puts it in charge, he knows what he's doing. So look who comes back last week on Raw, Klim. Johnny Gargano. Now there's a whole bunch of other rumors going around that Bray Wyatt is basically signed, sealed, and delivered to return to Raw. That it happened this weekend. I mentioned to you before we got on the air.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about the SmackDown taping where Butch, a.k.a. Pete Dunne, is going back. Looks like he's slowly transitioning into his bruiserweight gimmick. Now, what would be awesome is if they could find a way, because this is, to me, the biggest crime, bringing Imperium back together.
Oh my God! If they could, well, that's the thing I'm thinking about, because
no more fucking Ludwig Kaiser, no more Gunther. I want Walter, I want Marcel Bartel, and I want Fabian Eichner. I want Imperium. I want Imperium. Carrie's cousin Keith made an awesome point. We were talking about it today. He goes, how awesome would it be if Imperium found a way to reunite it? What is it called? Clash of the Castle?
Clash of the Castle Cardiff, yeah.
They all found a way to reunite and have a feud with Sheamus, Ridge Holland, and Dunn.
I'm excited with this era because, you know, like you said, we don't know what could happen. Like, anything could happen. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, like it must be really that easy to get these guys to come back and change all this shit because of all the rumors we're hearing about it. Like you mentioned, like Austin Theory is going to get his name back. We saw Johnny Gargano come back after 9 months of being off. There are rumors that Bray Wyatt is coming back. You know, it really could be that easy, and it could be that easy that, you know, maybe we get Imperium back. And we know Triple H is a big tag team guy because when Triple H was running NXT, the tag team division down there was amazing because you had Imperium, you had Sanity, you had Alpha Academy. All the list goes on and on and on and on.
He brought back Hit Row without Swerve, but I mean, he brought back Hit Row. Mm-hmm. Now the latest rumors is Legado del Fantasma is coming up to the main roster. Mm-hmm. Santos Escobar, Elektra Lopez, and
which is fine. That's great.
Indy Hartwell's rumored to be coming up to the main roster to be with Dexter Lumis to reform Index.
Yes. Big Index fan.
Tegan Knox is rumored to be returning to WWE. I mean, because he knows that there's depth. He knows that they need depth on the roster. You've got to have competition. You got to start moving these guys up. You got to start, like, again, Kevin Owens, you brought back old school KO with the duct tape on his shirt. You know, that's what people want to see. People want to see that. Although I don't love the fact of Kevin Owens being a face, but that's what you want to see, Klim. Mm-hmm. We were tired of seeing, like, did you really think Maximum Male Models is going to have a long run in WWE? Oh. But it got too gimmicky. Vince went back to the days of, like, before the Attitude Era, you know, when everybody had a gimmick and the one was more ridiculous than the next one. Karrion Kross is back with Scarlett, which is what we've wanted. We want to hear his freaking awesome theme music. Like right now, like it's fun to be a fan of WWE again. And you're seeing guys like Ricochet, AJ Styles getting TV time, like good TV time for matches. He's even going to midget wrestling club.
I
just want to see if you were paying attention.
I was. No, I am. I'm paying attention. But it's incredible. Like what's going on. Like when NXT was at its best, when Triple H was running it, it was amazing. It was arguably some of the best programming in the world, and we've seen some of the best matches in WWE history that came out of NXT. Let alone the Johnny Gargano Tommaso Ciampa feud that went on for 4 things. Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole, the North American title ladder match, Nikki Cross versus Asuka for the women's title in the last woman standing match, Sasha versus Bayley in the 60-woman Iron Man match. Like the list goes on and on and on, and these are all 5+ star matches that all came out of NXT, and these are some of the best matches we've seen in the past 5-10 years.
And now the rumor going around is that Dakota Kai and Io Shirai are going to win the tag titles, and they're going to be immediately confronted by Sasha Banks and Naomi. That's how they're going to bring Sasha Banks back. Although, quite frankly, I don't think they should bring Sasha Banks back. I kind of thought she has a bit of a shitty attitude. Great wrestler, but I mean, I don't know. I don't like the way she kind of did her bullshit, but that's another story. But now the question becomes more with AEW, and that is, should AEW start being nervous about all these changes going on with WWE, with all the excitement kind of building around WWE again? There's even a rumor going around that Triple H is going to revert back to the black and gold for NXT. NXT UK is done.
Yeah, they're doing NXT Europe now, right?
Yeah. And the other thing that kind of was annoying is like Tyler Bates showed up on NXT with the NXT UK title, but the tournament is still playing out on television, like on Peacock. So I can't watch it anymore. There's no point in watching NXT UK anymore. But they're bringing all over, but they released a lot of NXT UK talent. And they're going with like a certain like Miko Satomura, Gallus, Blair Davenport. You know, I hope they change back to Jordan Devlin, the Irish Ace. Mm-hmm. Tyler Bate, you know, like, because they're doing the Worlds Collide pay-per-view. NXT against NXT UK. So there's definitely a lot to like with what's going on. And the problem now with AEW is I think they're not sure where to go. There's tension backstage now between Punk and Hangman Page where they literally don't like each other. There was a lot of drama going around with Punk, that a lot of the wrestlers are pissed off at CM Punk. MJF is nowhere to be found, and he's arguably your best heel. I mean, right now, it just looks like AEW's in a bit of a mess.
No, they really are, and one of the problems, we first said it when AEW was becoming a thing, and we saw all the ex-WWE talent going over to AEW, is that we didn't want them to be WCW. You know, that was going to be their downfall of getting all this WWE talent. And it really is right now because you have a 2-hour program, 1 million people you have to get on the program. No one watches Rampage. So it's not going good because you want to see, you also, because now that AEW's been a thing for 3 years now, all right, we know what the WWE talent is, minus the guys of, you know, Daniel Bryan, John Moxley, and honestly, those really 2 guys. But guys like Cesaro or Claudio, I don't know his real name, but Cesaro, Rusev, all these like guys who we thought they're not getting any of the things we wanted when they were in WWE, and they're not getting it now here. It doesn't help.
Remember when we were talking about that a while ago, and I said AEW brought in way too much high-end talent, and I'm sure Tony Khan promised them title runs. I'm willing to bet that AEW promised them, like Daniel Bryan, a title run. I'm sure Jericho is going to get one more run before his career is over. Mm-hmm. Punk is probably going to get another title run.
Kenny Omega's back now, so he's going to get another title run.
Is MJF going to get a title run? I mean, we don't know. Now Moxley's the champion. I mean, I think with a lot of the big talent they've brought in, they promised these guys a ton of work and a ton of, and everything. But the thing is, they're not featured every week on Dynamite. When you put a show like Dynamite together Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, and I'm not saying AEW doesn't focus on wrestling. I think their wrestling matches are very good. A lot of them are good. But the problem is that a lot of the talent is not interesting to the wrestling fan. You have to be a hardcore. Not many people know New Japan wrestling the way that some others do.
Well, I was saying,
Will Ospreay comes out. What do people say? Yeah, it's Will Ospreay. I know Will Ospreay. He's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
But am I going to go batshit crazy that Will Ospreay's coming out? Not really. I mean,
because MJF, when MJF did his pipe bomb, he said it perfectly. He was like, "Oh, why am I supposed to pretend like I know what New Japan is?" Not the average wrestling fan knows anything about New Japan. The only people who really know about New Japan are your hardcore, as MJF put it, marks. Like, that's who knows about MJF, New Japan. There's nothing like, I've heard the name Will Ospreay before, and I've seen a couple of his matches. Was I excited when he came out? A little bit. But the average wrestling fan who only watches WWE and AEW has no clue who Will Ospreay is. He really doesn't. And to be perfectly honest, if my friends didn't watch New Japan, I would have no idea who Will Ospreay is. I would no idea who Takahashi is or any of these other. I wouldn't know what it is if I didn't have my friends who are huge. And I hate saying this because if they watch it, they're going to see me call them marks, but they are marks. They are marks. And that's the only reason why I know these guys. But if it wasn't for that, like our loyal friend, Mike Laws, he'll come on every now and again. And I know he doesn't watch New Japan. He was like, "Oh, Will Ospreay. I have no idea who that is. I really don't give a shit." Because that's what the average wrestling fan does. They don't know any of these New Japan guys.
Like, here's the thing. Like, Keith, he's a big wrestling guy. Always has been, always will be. He knows a lot about the indie circuit. He knows a lot about, he knows a lot about New Japan. He watches New Japan. It's a big difference. Okay, so when he sees guys like Will Ospreay come in, for him, it's he's interested because he knows New Japan wrestling really well. Mm-hmm. I remember seeing Will Ospreay at the G1 Supercard at the Garden when it was Ring of Honor against New Japan, right? And he put on a killer match. Like, he put on a freaking awesome match. But other than that, though, when these guys come out, how excited really are you? You know what I mean? Like, if I'm watching Dynamite, I want to see fucking Hangman Page every week. I want to see Kenny Omega every week. I want to see MJF. I want to see Punk if he's healthy. I want to see these guys. I don't care about Brody King. Yeah, I like them. I'm not saying I don't, but I'm not dying to see the House of Black. I'm not dying to see, the Gun Club or the Acclaimed. I mean, I'm not. Like, I'm just not. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where Tony Khan is losing his audience because he's not putting a great product out. And the truth of the matter is, since he's the one doing all the booking, he's doing a lot of shitty booking too. I'm sorry, but in no way, shape, or form, Klim, should Anna Jay go over on Ruby Soho.
No.
Ruby Soho is a 10 times better wrestler than Anna Jay. See what I mean? Like, something is just it's just not making any sense. A lot of the shit they're doing is not making any sense. Mm-hmm. And I hate the booking. Like, I can't stand the booking of AEW. Like, honestly, All Out is this Sunday, and they're showing it in the movie theater right down the street from my house. But I have no desire to go see it because I don't think the card is that great.
It really isn't. It's not. I have no plans to buy the pay-per-view.
Like, are there any titles on the line? Because I literally have no idea if there's any titles on the line. I think the six-man title or some shit.
What's it? Fight for? What's the? It's All Out, right?
All Out.
Let me see. Yeah, we got Wardlow and FTR versus Jay Lethal and the Motor City Machine Guns.
Man.
Tony Storm versus Britt Baker versus Jamie Hayter versus Hiroshita for the women's title.
Man.
The Casino Ladder match. Bryan Danielson versus Chris Jericho.
That'll be a good match.
Swerve Swerve and Our Glory versus the Acclaimed for the AEW World Tag Team Champions. I didn't even know Swerve and Our Glory had the titles. Jungle Boy versus Christian Cage. Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs.
Again, like, am I really interested in seeing these matches?
And Jade Cargill versus Athena.
I think this is a terrible card.
It's not good. The only match I really want to watch is not even. It's not. I would say it's not even the women's title. I don't even want to watch that.
And quite frankly, I don't even know if I want to watch a Jericho match because you've seen one Jericho match, you've seen them all.
Yeah.
You know, like, he doesn't do anything drastically different from the previous match. I mean, there's nothing on that card where I'm like super excited to sit and watch. I mean, the thing is that there's, again, if WWE figures out a way to hit it out of the park on Saturday with Clash at the Castle, that's only going to build the momentum. And now there's another story going around that USA Network wants a title holder on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want Roman Reigns holding both belts anymore because he's never wrestling. He's never on anything anymore. So what's the fucking point? I mean, he shouldn't be holding the belts. So now Raw, so you might see a title drop at some point. Pretty soon, probably even before. I wouldn't be surprised if it's before Mania. The Usos should not, that's the only thing. The Usos should not be holders of both tag titles.
I agree with you. I don't think they should have held it for this long, at least. I mean, I'm okay with Roman holding both belts still. Do I think he needs to drop one? Yes. Am I mad that he still has both? Not really. Am I more mad that the Usos have the title still? Yes. They should have dropped it a while ago. But again, that's due to Vince not building up the tag division ever in the WWE because it's terrible. Like, but maybe now that Triple H is in charge, he'll build up the tag division. He'll bring back, whoever, bring people over from.
WWE has tag teams. You have the Viking Raiders. You have the New Day. You have Street Profits. You have Alpha Academy. Okay? These are just to name a few. You have the Usos. You can figure out other tag teams. I mean, you do have other tag teams. You just have to try to put them together, or you have to try to, I don't know if they're going to put DIY back together, but it would be pretty sweet if they did.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they want to build Gargano into a singles wrestler. But I mean, right now, slowly but surely, WWE is becoming relevant again because they have a fresh set of eyes on the product. And he knows that he has to get, he needs more talent on the roster. He's got to get more talent, so that's what he's doing. And a lot of the guys, and think about it, that just goes to show you the respect that Triple H has among these guys because they all want to come back because of him. They don't want to come back because they would have never come back if Vince was still in charge.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely not. They would have not come back.
And the thing is, Tony Khan very quickly became a cocky fuck when Vince had to quit and resign or whatever it was. Putting out that stupid tweet that was like, I'm the longest reigning owner or something like that in wrestling. Like, the guy's just a fucking moron. And the thing is, if you've ever been to an AEW show, his shows are a mess.
I've yet to go to an AEW event.
The problem is that they tape too many shows in one sitting. Okay? They tape 3 shows in one sitting. So they tape AEW Dark first. I think it's Dark Elevation. I'm not sure which one it is. Right? Which is nothing, quite frankly, but a bunch of squash matches. There are not really that many good matches on the card. They put like one match on. Then they go to Dynamite. Then they have to take a 20-minute break because they have to change everything to Rampage. So Rampage doesn't start until 10:30. And by then, you're just wiped out. And then Rampage runs for an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then they finally do something at the end, but it doesn't end till like midnight. And I couldn't go, and I couldn't stay late. I was exhausted. I was so tired from watching wrestling. I just had enough. And another guy you got to build up to is Hook.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with him?
Oh my God, I'm so out on Hook.
So it's like, the thing is while I think that AEW has the talent, I also think that AEW, I don't know, there's something about the way they're doing their shows that just doesn't sit with me. Like, I'm not a fan of it. And now it seems like you're putting another faction together in a way with Malcolm Bivens, with Ethan Page, and I think the Guns. I'm not sure. But again, we don't need another fucking faction in AEW. You need to start cutting dead weight is what you need to do.
No, you're absolutely right. You need to cut the dead weight. And I remember at first I said, I'm all about the factions. Give me more factions, if anything. But now there's too many factions. There's way too many, and I apologize for that. I will say that's on me for wanting more factions. But there's too much. Like, I don't want to see the one with William Regal, or the whatever Christian Cage has got going on, or the Elite, or the Undisputed Elite, whatever. It's too much. It's too much. It's way too much. I don't care about any of it.
There's not enough TV time for any of those guys. The Undisputed Elite, there's no time. They weren't even on. I don't even think they were on Dynamite last week. I just think right now. I just think they are suffering from a case of way too much talent. And then you have guys like Andrade, like Miro, who are just buried. They're going to be buried. Miro's in a feud with House of Black. I just don't care enough about House of Black where I'm like all in on that. I love Aleister Black. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. He's a great wrestler. I'm just not committed to watching House of Black every single week.
No, you're right.
I don't care if I'm getting to the point now where I don't care if Darby Allin kills himself, jumping off ladders onto tables. I just don't care. He's becoming Darby Allin is becoming a bit of a glorified jobber, in my opinion. Like, I'm just not a fan of the product. And I think, the WWE still has ways to go. I'm not saying they don't, but it's just gotten to the point where it's just not, WWE right now is starting to build excitement with returning wrestlers. Can you imagine if you put Dexter Lumis and Indy Hartwell on Raw?
Oh my God, yes, please, 100%. I'm all in. I'm all in on it.
Like, how excited were you at SummerSlam when Dakota Kai and Io Shirai came out together?
Amazed. I was stunned with enjoyment.
And Bayley back to being a heel, which she's incredible at. Like, how do you not be excited for that right now? I mean, I got to give it a lot of credit, man. Triple H has really taken it and ran with it. I mean, I don't know if this was the plan all along with Vince, but because, it was only 6 months ago, Triple H had a heart condition that the stress was about to kill him. Now, all of a sudden, he's running the WWE, and he's doing an incredible job just getting excitement back into it. It's like if Raw comes back to the UBS Arena, I want to go. If Raw comes back to the Nassau Coliseum, I want to go. I want to check it out.
I'm absolutely buying. Whenever it comes back, whether it's a pay-per-view, whatever event, I'm there. The first event, whether in New York, I'm back at it.
I want to go. Like, I definitely want to go. So before we get out of here, I just want to do a quick note on hockey. By the way, for wrestling fans, we mentioned it on our last show, but we were it's been a few weeks since we did a show. September 12th, right here on Moffett on the Mic show, we will have Impact Wrestling, NWA, and now current AEW Dark or AEW star VSK will be joining us. He's been on our show in the past. Great guy to talk with, a lot of fun, huge Islander fan. So we'll be definitely getting into some Islander hockey with him next week, as well as as well as talk about the business, talk about wrestling. So again, September 12th, right here on the Moffett on the Mic show. Next week we won't have a show because of Labor Day, but September 12th we'll have VSK on. They'll be hanging out with us to talk all things wrestling and all things Islanders. So definitely check it out. And when he's on the show, of course, if you have questions, feel free to comment on Klim's feed, and we will get them on the air as soon as possible. Before we get out of here, we'll talk a little bit of Islanders hockey because, again, we haven't been at a show for a few weeks. But Nazem Kadri was the latest free agent that did not come to the Islanders. So every Islander fan had a massive heart attack on social media and Instagram and everything. And the only thing I could say at this point is I never felt comfortable giving a 31-year-old player a 7-year contract for $49 million. I understand Nazem Kadri had a great year last year with the Avalanche, won a Stanley Cup, had over 30 goals and everything. The years before that, he was somewhere in the 20s, and I think a few of the years he only had 18 goals. So you can consider this a career year and also a contract year. And that would be the type of mistake the Islanders would make in the past, where they would try to hemorrhage money to players who probably didn't really deserve it to come to the team. So that contract, Klim, in my opinion, had the makings of an Andrew Ladd contract.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, it definitely did.
We would have regretted it within 2 to 3 years. So in a way, I'm kind of happy that they didn't sign him. Now, look, I understand Islander fans are pissed off that the team didn't really do anything this offseason, and they were very quiet. They had to get Dobson signed, which they did. They got Alex Romanov signed, which they did. They're working on – now I think they're working on a deal to get Matt Barzal signed for a long-term deal. I still think this team has the pieces to make a playoff run. I really do. It all depends on guys figuring out just getting back on track. Pajot has to get back on track. Palmieri has to get back on track. Beauvillier has to get back on track. I think if they can get those guys back to the 20 to 25 goal scorers they were, and I think they have a very good shot to make the playoffs. So I'll tell you what, Klim, since I'm just talking to myself here.
I'm so sorry.
Tell me what's going on in the ambulance world. Because now
So I'll throw it out there. I'm so sorry about this.
Look, I'm just gonna pretend I'm doing something else.
I'm fully apologizing to this. It's my fault. Craig, if you wanted to punch me in the throat right now, I wouldn't put it past you.
If you lived next door to me, I probably would.
Look, like I said, I apologize for me. Look, I give you this time. This is my fault, 100%. But no, it's people are in my company where they're complaining because of they're changing around everyone's schedules now.
You gotta put it up on the thing.
Oh well, hold on.
Your ambulance job has nothing to do with Triple H era thriving.
Hold on. There we go.
There you go.
No, so
I don't have work drama, so.
So no, it's because our company is changing around our schedules now at our company, and I had a bunch of people hit me up saying, "Chris, you've been here a while. You should you got to voice your opinion. I say everything like that. You should do it now." And everyone's commenting in our the group chat that we have with all of our supervisors and everything like that. And it's just a fucking shit show because everyone has their set schedules right now, and they'll be like, "Oh, well, no, we're not going to do that anymore. You're going to have to pick out whatever schedule you want based on seniority. And if you don't have the schedule you want, well, it's tough shit for you then. Then it's either like that." So everyone's literally messaging me, "Chris, you should say something because you've been here a while. You should say something because you do that." I'm like, oh my God, I really don't want to be the voice of the people right now. I don't want to be CM Punk right now, but so I'm people, like I said, people keep texting me. I'm like, I'm gonna message them back in a minute. Just give me. I'm doing the middle of doing a show right now. I can't really comment on anything right now. But it's a fucking shit show right now. In the group chats that I'm in, emails I'm being sent. It's fucking.
You a union member?
No, but this is not a union thing. This is not union.
Where do you work again?
Ambulance. It's a private ambulance company.
And what is your schedule?
I work 10 to 10, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I like my schedule. I have no problems with my schedule. But if on the off chance that, because I work, as you know, I work 2 other jobs, and I do this, and I'm a volunteer fireman as well.
Well, this is not. This is a hobby. This is just
still. God forbid I can't get, because I made my schedules around the work schedule I currently have. So if I can't have the shifts I have currently now and I lose that, then I got to rearrange everything in my fucking life because of this shit now. Now, I'm not saying I will.
By that rationale, are you saying that you're going to lose your shifts? You're going to lose your schedule? Someone else?
There's a possibility.
Where are you on the seniority poll?
Oh, I'm up there. That's why I don't really have a problem with it, because I'm up there on the seniority thing. So I think I have I'm thinking of top 10 in longest reigning people there. So a shift for me is not a problem. I'll probably get the shifts I want.
Is this full time or part time? Is this full time?
I'm full time.
So you get benefits and everything?
Yep.
For 30 hours? Oh no,
Yeah,
you get 36 hours, right?
I work 36 hours a day. Well, usually it's sometimes it's more than 12 hours a shift, so I usually work up to like maybe close to 40 hours a week. But yeah, there are other people who like some of my partners I know who are lower on the totem pole, and I really much enjoy working with my partners that may not be able to do this, and they got school coming up, and they got their families and stuff like that, where they rearranging their schedules.
Listen, I'll be very honest. They're not going to give a shit. They're not going to. They'll find people to take the job. Trust me, they will. They will find people to take the job. The one thing I can tell you is, and take it from somebody who worked in a union, who worked with seniority and all that stuff, the people above, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying the people above don't give a fuck about the people at the bottom. The minute that their schedule is inconvenienced, then they'll have a problem. But if Joe Schmo at the bottom of the list has to work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and that's too bad. It's like, too bad, so sad. And you should have gotten it earlier. That was exactly the reason why I never took the job with UPS. Because UPS wanted me to work Tuesday to Saturday, and I had a big problem working Saturdays. I have two kids. I have a wife. I didn't think it was fair to dump it on her to be with them all day. I'd be working anywhere from 10 to 12 hours on a Saturday, for all I know, depending on how many boxes I have to deliver and stuff. I wasn't prepared to make that commitment. Luckily, right afterwards, the Garden City Hotel job was waiting for me. So I don't regret the decision at all. I basically make the same amount of money at Garden City Hotel that I'm currently making with UPS. Now, what people don't understand is that while yes, UPS during the holiday, you can make $90,000 a year and all that stuff, but that's only during the holidays because they work your ass to the bone.
Right.
If there's a fucking blizzard, you have to go to work. Like they'll make you go to work. Right. They don't shut down. They don't shut down for anything. Your van is skidding off all over the fucking place. They don't care. They're like, it's got to get delivered, so fucking deliver it. Like they don't give a shit.
Right.
So one thing I've learned about people in unions is they don't give a fuck about anything. They only care about themselves. I used to be in the middle of union arguments, and I used to hear it. And it was two union guys fighting with each other because they're not the union tries to sell you on this band of brotherhood, but they're not a fucking brotherhood. They're all out for themselves, just like anybody else out there in the workforce. So my advice to you is take it if you want, take it if you don't. You got to look out for Klim.
Yeah.
I understand that the people there really, are they a lot of people young?
Most of them are young. There are a few people who are like my age, like there, who I'm close with everyone basically at the company. Like I'm friends with all of them. So
how old are you again?
26.
You're 26. Okay.
Yeah.
The thing is that it's a job that they can find people to work. I mean, it's not difficult to find people to work 3 days a week for 12 hours. If the pay's good enough, people will do it. I would do it. If I had to work 3 days a week from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., I would do it. And get 4 days off, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. You kidding me? You can't ask for a better schedule than that.
No, you can't. I like my schedule. That's why, but like that's the problem though. Like I don't want to potentially. I don't think I am gonna lose. Like I said, I'm gonna have my pick of whatever the hell I want because I'm higher up on the seniority totem pole.
You have to tell people point blank, like, listen, I know you guys are pissed off, but what do you want me to do about it?
Right.
Because again, you have to. Because trust me when I tell you this, Klim, those people currently bitching to you about their schedules would never give a shit about you if it was reversed. If you were the one complaining, they would be like, oh, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm sorry. And trust me, I've seen it. I've seen it. I used to have to work holidays. I used to miss Thanksgiving with my family, and I used to miss Christmas with my family because I had to work. But that's the field I went into. You got to be prepared for anything. And if you're not a unionized group, the bosses can basically do whatever they want.
Yeah.
As far as they're concerned, you're expendable. You are expendable. And you have to go into each job like you're expendable. You can't go into every job thinking you're the greatest employee they ever had, because when you're not, they're going to fire your ass.
Right.
Okay? You can't go in there with arrogance and cockiness. You go in there knowing that you can be replaced at any time, and that's what makes you do your job better. Like you've how long have you been with this company?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. And you like what you do, basically? Like you don't really have a problem with it? Like, I mean, besides the politics and all that shit?
I'm one of the few employees. Like, usually, I would say I've been here for almost 2 years. The average lifespan of an employee at this company is about 6 months, 6 to 8 months, I would say.
Because people don't want to work weekends. That's why. When they get out of college, they don't want to work weekends. We deal with it at the hotel too. We have people quit on us every fucking week because they start and then they realize they don't want to. They work one Saturday and they hate working on Saturdays and Sundays and they want out.
Like I said, I mean, there's more to it besides like that. That's one of the problems. But I mean, look, I'm not going to dive into my entire work drama facility, but that's the main gist of what's been going on and why I've been a little zoned out. But I would now that I'm putting all that aside now. I'm back. Let's get back into the Islanders.
Well, unfortunately, we got to go soon, so I don't really have time to talk about it anymore.
Oh, damn! I'm sorry. I fully apologize, Craig, and
so it's okay.
I'm an asshole. I'll say it. I'm an asshole. I get it.
Oh, it's your network. It's not mine. I mean, like,
but it's your show. But it's your show.
Yes, but it's your network, so it ultimately falls on you who runs the network. So my point is that we could easily have role reversal, and you could have the Chris Klim show, and I could be the producer, and I could just sit here watching porn while you're talking about the Jets, and I'm like, yeah, you're so right. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not saying like I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm just No,
I understand. Like I said, this is not my finest.
Listen, we could have cut it short if you had to go take care of some business. My advice to you is you have a pretty good standing there. Your bosses seem to like you a lot, and you have a good schedule right now to eventually build to where you want to go. Because I'm sure you don't want to be a driver for an ambulance for the rest of your life. You probably have other aspirations. But right now, this all works perfectly for you. Your bosses seem to like you. You have everything you need until you eventually take the next step forward. My advice to you is be careful what you say because the bosses don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm.
They will yes you to death, and then they will turn around and find a way to screw you over. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you're young, if the people below you have a fight on their hands, then they need to take it up with the bosses. But I'm telling you right now, it will fall on deaf ears. I guarantee it will fall on deaf ears because the bosses aren't going to care. You are not union. There is no union contract. They can pretty much tell you when they want you to work. It's up to you if you want the job at the end of the day.
Right.
Now, with all due respect, a kid who's 22, 23 years old shouldn't be fucking bitching and complaining about what their hours are. Mm-hmm. If you want to work a Monday to Friday job, find a Monday to Friday job. There's plenty of them out there.
Right.
You take the job because you want to drive an ambulance, you want to help people, again, you get 4 days off. 4 days off. That's not bad.
Right.
I mean, yes, you have to work a 12-hour day, but it's not bad. And quite frankly, I'm sure there are some days that are slower than others.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure there are days where you guys are just driving around in circles the whole time, and then, you might get 2 calls to take people to a hospital or pick up or whatever. And then there are days where you're going to be incredibly slammed. I just don't think the bosses are going to care. And I don't think you should get yourself caught in the middle of it because they may take it out on you. Because they're going to be like, well, who the fuck is this guy? I understand he's been here for a while and, I like the guy, but, I don't understand what he's bitching about because he's got he's got weekends off. Right. I mean, what's the worst case scenario that happens? You maybe lose a weekend, like 1 day weekend, maybe? Would that be the worst case scenario for you if it went to a seniority thing?
I think worst case scenario for me is that I would have to work more than 3 days. To be perfectly honest, I mean,
is that what
like I said, my schedule is good right now. I like my schedule, and I'm one of the few people at the top of the totem pole who can pick with whatever they want.
Well, at the same time, then if I were you, and if you don't like don't like your standing at that point,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with going out and interviewing with other places. There's nothing
True.
wrong with going, go for, Nassau County, find a way to take a test or something. That's what my brother-in-law did for years. He was an ambulance driver for Nassau County Police. He had a great schedule. They used to let him bank all of his time. He used to have fucking 3 months of nothing but time off. He used to get paid out for it. It was insane. He's got holiday pay. I mean, like I said, I'm not sure what the end game is for you, but if it doesn't automatically pertain to you, don't get yourself involved. Because I'm telling you, it'll be the biggest mistake you ever made. Because trust me, I've tried to go to my bosses in the past and complain about things, and it went in one ear and out the other. It did nothing except make my life more miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, on that note, anything else?
I apologize again. I really am sorry.
It's all right. All right, everyone. That'll do it for the Moffett on the Mic show for this Monday night. Glad I could see. You know what? Maybe this will be a new segment we'll have. We'll call it. Moffett on the Mic PhD, and we'll just we'll listen to your problems, and we'll put a couch like a screen, like a green screen of a couch in the back, so you can
Dr. Moffett.
Yeah, it's like Doc. Yeah. So it's like so I could just say after further review, after looking at my notes, you're an idiot. And that's it. Just leave it at that. On that note, that'll do it for the Moffett on the Mic show for this Monday night. Thank you, everybody, for checking us out, courtesy of the A1 Sports Network. We'll be back again Monday night, September 12th, 8 o'clock, right here on the A1 Sports Network, talking to Impact Wrestling, AEW Wrestling, NWA Wrestling, and he's also made some appearances on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. He's a returning guest to our show, and he was also with Creative Pro Wrestling, which is how we got to know him. The one and only VSK will be joining us. We'll be definitely talking some wrestling and some Islander hockey, so we're definitely looking forward to that. On behalf of Klim, this is Craig. It's been the Moffett on the Mic show. Wherever you are, stay safe. Have a great Labor Day. Enjoy the rest of the week. Football is back, and we will be talking about on the 12th, week 1. We'll do a week 1 recap, and we'll get into talking to VSK as well. All right, wherever you are, stay safe. Have a great Labor Day. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy the games. Enjoy everything. Klim, take care of yourself. Good luck with everything. And that's it. Have a great one, everybody. Take care.